Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago, and wherever you are watching us from in the world. Welcome to Pep Talks in the Morning. It is Friday, the 15th of May, and it's TGIF. Welcome, Hadassah Charles McLeod to Pep Talks in the Morning. Good morning, Hadassah.
Good morning, Felicia. How are you? Good morning, Lima.
Hi, morning.
I'm good. It's Friday, and I'm excited to sleep in late tomorrow. And by late, I mean not waking up at 6, hopefully around 7. That is late for
Oh,
me now
wow.
on weekends. Yes, good morning to you, Lima, McLeod Wilkinson. Two McLeods on the show this morning.
Morning. I'm still feeling tired.
I was now about to say you sound very enthusiastic to be here this morning. And
I'm
I have
very
been trying
tired.
to get these two young ladies on the show together for the longest while, and it has finally worked
Longest
out.
while.
Reason being, these are the two co-chairs of the Women's Arm, and it's an all-female panel this morning, I'm just noticing. So we're about, according to, I saw Daniel Jackson put out a post last night that we're about to bring the fire, and well, I'm kind of tired. I'm a little groggy. Hadassah might probably, you have to bring the fire for all of us because some of these things that I have to
Oh,
discuss
wow.
this morning. That, yes, I hope you're energized. Some of the things we have to discuss this morning, to be honest, all my fire was spent um this week discussing
This
them
week.
because as they continue to unfold, I find myself less inclined to be angry and more annoyed. And I think I'm mostly annoyed at just how gullible Trinbagonians seem to be. And I'm talking specifically about this issue with the Venezuelan vice president coming here to Trinidad and Tobago. And if you have been following the show this week, you'd have seen how day by day the story would have unfolded from the week started off with the Minister of National Security, Stuart Young, denying that he knew who was on the plane, to a manifest being revealed and exemption letter being revealed where he would have signed acknowledging that he knew who was on coming to Trinidad and Tobago, and now we have his response to that, which is again a whole lot of, there's a word Dave Lux, a phrase Dave Lux uses, Limo, what is it? Misdirection, and I can't remember what it is.
I'm not too
He said
sure
something.
either. He does use so many.
Yeah, but besides Big Bull, this is the one that he uses a lot. Misinformation, something about misdirection. And I felt that completely when I read Stuart Young's response to this, which I'm going to read right now. He noted, he being Stuart Young, this letter is completely consistent with what I said previously on Monday
You
of
have to
this
read
week.
it like how he reads it, Felicia.
You want me to send it to you to do that? Because I'm not able to do that level of, sorry. I can do many things. Imitate Stuart Young is not one of them
My
I want to
gosh.
be known for. I swear to God.
Trying to find the middle here.
There are very few people who grinds my nerves like Stuart Young does,
He
and
is one.
I didn't know I was going to attempt it, but no. This letter is completely consistent with what I said previously. On Monday this week, I stated that I granted permission for Executive Vice President Delcy Rodriguez to enter Trinidad and Tobago on the exemption to enter once the exemption to enter is granted, as was the case with Vice President Rodriguez. The public service deals with the details. I was not aware of the composition of the delegation or the aircraft that would be used. Those details were handled by the public service as it's always done. The letter being referenced simply confirms that the public service had details of the aircraft and persons in the delegation, and that I had granted approval for entry. I cannot think of a more scapegoat response to what is supposed to be your responsibility.
That's not even a
Lemo,
scapegoat response. That's a blatant lie because, as a top official, anybody from any sort of diplomatic, you know, section of society coming into your country, you must know the delegation. So if the president, the vice president of the United States coming, you wouldn't know who he bringing?
That has been the
You
question
want
for
to
the
know?
entire.
You want to know all about the citizens of Trinidad all over the world. But you ain't no want to know who it is coming in your damn country?
Hadassah.
Um, it seems as though the government and Stuart Young in particular, um, he seems to like to create confusion in the minds of people so that you don't know if you're going or if you're coming, right? You're always being slapped with different information, so you're left confused. And I don't know if that is deliberate, so that you just give up and you say, well, oh gosh, I can't handle this, and this is too much, right? But everything that it seems that this government does, it's always shrouded in deception and lies, and you never know what to believe. And that is my issue with it. And like Lima said, you must know that people at that level coming into the country, you must know who is who. And he cannot pass the buck now and say, well, it was the public service responsibility. No, it was your responsibility, especially in a time like this when the borders are closed and we are limiting who can come in and come out. So miss me with your BS, as
Oh,
Philip is
I
saying.
love
Thank
that.
you.
I love how you
Yeah.
ended that. I would love to see this have happened to Trump and hear him say, it is not my responsibility to know if terrorists from Al Qaeda were flying in on a plane. It was the responsibility of my Ministry of Defense. I would never, you would never see something like that happening internationally. We like to look abroad and we like to look outside and talk. I just see people on my timeline, a lot of Trinis talking about the United States and Trump this
Yeah.
and Trump that. Yet right here in our very own country, when our prime minister, when our government, when our minister
They
of
don't seem
national
to see it.
security
Yeah.
do shit, our people they don't see it at all. Yesterday, my entire timeline, I was scrolling through to see the usual suspects to see what they had to say on this matter. Silence. Silence because there was no way they could have explain this away. They knew that if they had to explain it away, they would have been talking rubbish.
And the thing
And
about it is, you can't blame it on the public service at all because they would have been the last people to know,
Yes.
right? She would have had to call and say, yo, Stuart, we coming over for the goods, organize. And then when the plane reached, that's when immigration would have been involved.
I I am
And I am inclined
absolutely
to believe her. So sorry, Felicia. I'm inclined to
no,
believe
you go
her
ahead.
because, as far as I'm concerned, she has no reason to lie, and she's probably thinking,
Mhm.
well, the government of Trinidad and Tobago, they are not out to deceive their people, so I am going to say what the business was about. We was talking energy, right? And we have to hear from on our side, oh, they're talking COVID-19. Really?
Hmm.
This raises the question of the day, and we took a couple tries at at phrasing this question this morning because we initially wanted to ask it in a way that may have probably ended up with us getting 100% yes answers. But I rephrased it in a way to be less biased because this is a poll and I still do want you, the public, to make the decision for yourself. But make the decision based on everything that you have heard and read in the newspapers this morning, everything that Stuart Young, that has come out of his mouth this week. And the poll question for today is, do you believe Stuart Young should be fired over this issue with the Venezuelan delegation? The answers are yes or no, and we will be revealing your responses towards the end of the program. I know my answer, Hadassah. I'm sure you know your answer. Lima, I'm sure you know your answer. If you can log on your phone, vote as well. But the question again, for those who missed it, do you believe that Stuart Young should be fired over this issue with the Venezuelan delegation? Just continuing on that topic though, for all of the people who work below Stuart Young, I would take this as a very as a diss to me though. You basically
Yeah, slap in the face.
blaming me for your incompetence as the minister.
Yeah, but how much times they go get slapped in the face? That's his whole operandi now. Incompetence from day one. You do this whole competition with Gary. You're trying to look military and tough and I can do it. I could be a SRP. I don't know why the hell they didn't send him best on street to be a SRP and Jude. Then deal with some real gunters up in the hills there. And then you wanna come and talk big. Oh, I didn't know who was in the delegation. Oh God, man up now. It's like he's that spoiled brat that have to run to daddy every time you get in trouble. So instead of daddy finding out you do stupidness, you run to him quietly. Daddy, you know this happened. All right, son, pat on the back. I'll handle it.
Yeah, like my friend does say, powerful dumb. He does conveniently not know what going on. And then he have this face that you just want to punch it. Like, seriously.
A face that you
Yeah,
just want to slap. Be honest.
yeah,
You could be truthful because I know that's
yeah.
how I feel when I see his face.
Yes.
I can't. I could watch the prime minister speak with and holding my feeling of wanting to regurgitate. I could even tolerate at least 5 minutes of Terrence Dial thing before I switch the channel. You see when Stuart
God.
Young starts to talk, bro?
Yes, he does evoke such a feeling. I feel so violent when I see
I
him
will have you
and
all
hear
not
him
be bad
speak.
talking my MP days. My very
You would have
hard-working
us what?
MP. Not be bad
Speaking of
talking
your
my MP
hardworking
days.
MP, speaking of your hardworking MP, where was he during this COVID-19 pandemic in Port of Spain, North St. Antoine?
Up in Delcias.
Oh dear Lord.
He wasn't in the constituency.
What he did?
Come on. Stuart has ever been in that constituency? Please.
Come on. Sorry. On a real though, where was Stuart Young during all of this? Our Minister of Misinformation. I don't think he doesn't have the title of Minister of Communication anymore, right? That is now Donna Cox. And
Yeah.
thank God because he's known for spewing a whole lot of misinformation, for lack of you having another word to describe, just listening to this man talk and twist words and try to put it in a way that his supporters, his few remaining base supporters, could actually gobble up and spit out
Run
as
with it.
truth and run with it. Yeah, I mean, yesterday I saw somebody change the convo, which they have done. I don't want to say they have done a good job at, because I'm seeing the majority of citizens sticking to the issue, which is how could you not know that a delegation came here,
Yeah.
and why? How are we
Yeah.
supposed to believe that the Energy Minister Board came to talk COVID-19 and immigration? And for the most
And the
part,
thing
the
is,
people who
if they came to speak about it too, where was Nicola Oliveri? Isn't she the Minister of Energy?
Good
is
question.
she still? No,
I
Franklin Khan
I
is the
do.
Minister of Energy. She was fired
Oh,
about
okay.
3 years ago. Yeah,
Syria. Oh shucks, I didn't even
she's
know
just an
that.
MP. She's an MP for she's an MP for Labrie, but she's not Point Fortin or yeah, Labrie, but she's no
So okay,
longer a
well, was
minister.
Franklin Tan in the delegation too to discuss this energy? Or is it
He
another
was
type
not
of
there.
energy they carry to
With Limo, it was not an energy discussion. Remember, it was a
It was
discussion on
COVID
COVID
19.
19 and
all right.
immigration. They came here to discuss the 16,000 people who would have emigrated from Venezuela to Trinidad, and they came to talk test kits for a country that had fewer cases of COVID 19 than they did. Being facetious here, of course. But I was saying earlier with Stuart Young, I'm seeing people holding on to them in terms of the narrative, asking those questions, how could a board of energy, a board full of energy, sorry, a delegation full of energy board, what am I trying to say? A delegation of energy board members, Jesus Christ,
She needs
come to
coffee.
discuss COVID-19 I have coffee. I just clearly need a top up. I think I get too excited when it's Friday. I feel like the end of the week is here, and I get me like I say, just confused because
I,
I want the week to
I
end
would
so
have
quickly. But
loved
how
it
is the board?
if our journalists asked the CMO about it, and it's like they screenshot his facial expressions and him looking at Terrence to see if to answer yes or no, and then seeing him look conflicted and should I answer, should I not, should I tell the truth, should I lie, should I what? That
The
poor
CMO
man.
comes
Yeah.
off as somebody who seems like he's just fed a script at the beginning of every press conference and told that if you deviate, we will have your head at the end of it. He never looks or comes across as somebody who is capable of having his own thoughts, having his own interpretation. And for the few times he would have ever ventured to make a suggestion or offer an opinion that was that would have deviated from the script, I already saw the fear in his eyes, and I can imagine Stuart Young climbing up a ladder to try and slap him for making the mistake that he was not supposed to make in terms of actually speaking his mind and not sticking to the government approved script written by whoever writes their scripts at the beginning of every press conference. But just to wrap up this issue with him,
Hmm.
with them and this Venezuelan delegation, I I wait to see how many people in the public are going to take this hook, line, and sinker. They're going to fall for the Pappy show again. I'm already seeing a few people trying to change the narrative into, I can't believe you all think the US are going to impose sanctions on us. I had to tell somebody yesterday it has nothing to do with the US posing sanctions. At least for me, that is a topic for later down the road. It's not about
Hmm.
whether the US imposes sanctions on Trinidad and Tobago or not. The question always remains, did our government blatantly lie and deceive the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago or not? And that is the issue I will keep reiterating. I will hold on to that. And I would make citizens answer to that because I mean even yesterday, like I was saying, somebody mentioned to me, yes, they know that the government lied, but they're not going to shoot the pilot while the plane is flying. I said I appreciate your analogy considering your pilot seems very intent on flying us into a wall. Anyway, on to the next
Sad.
topic. I'm just reading this comment. Firing the minister for his actions is one thing, but stripping him of his portfolio would simply give him a leave to do a McDonald, to come back within the party administration with a portfolio assignment. The bigger question should now be, were there any criminal offenses committed to warrant a criminal investigation, to warrant prosecution? I won't read the rest of his comment, but I will like it because it is that to me should be the next step in a country that works with a Minister of National Security being so incompetent and so inept in his duties. A investigation would have immediately been launched into him,
Yeah, but
and
then
today
this
he would
is Trinidad
be
and
answering
Tobago.
questions
They
as to
they
why.
don't like to prosecute or punish, discipline their own in the party. They will cover up and do all kind of foolishness to protect them. And then you will try and throw UNC under the bus and say, it was Kamla. For all you know, Kamla give wrong information or some kind of foolishness for them.
But this is
That's the
why
problem
this is
in this
why
country.
yeah, this is why the PEP entering the political space is so revolutionary and so progressive because we are the only party talking about public office reform where if an MP or a public official is found to be non-performing or showing that they are misbehaving in public office, and the citizens now have the ability to remove them. We don't have anything in place. We don't have any of these safeties to ensure that this type of behavior doesn't continue to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, and if it's anything, they just get
Indeed,
rewarded because even if they remove them, they give them some high ranking position somewhere else doing some other thing. And the
Exactly. They put
crime,
somewhere else
what they have
to
done
continue with
has
their
not.
incompetence.
Yeah, yeah. And that's unfair to the people of Trinidad and Tobago.
It is
This is why
unfair because
once
we are
them
not
get
being
there, they're
served.
supposed to investigate all 41 of them and start a lick down prosecution. Like, because this nonsense have to
Exactly.
stop. So at what point they're going to value the opinion of the people of Trinidad and Tobago? If we say we want somebody fired, we don't mean fired as a cabinet minister, fired permanently, removed, don't come back in the next term, don't get no position, no state board, nothing. These people taking us for a ride.
indeed. I want to move on to the next topic, and before we move on, I just invite you to click share on the video on your newsfeed, on your timeline, to your WhatsApp friends, as we invite everybody to join us in the discussion this morning. Our our Minister of Health is on record as saying that we need to brace for the second wave. And I saw somebody asking, we barely had a first wave. What are we really bracing for? And it is a narrative that I'm seeing not just the Minister of Health using. I also listened to Clarence Rambrat of utter the same statement, threatening people that if y'all don't behave, literally hitting us with a ruler over our knuckles if y'all don't behave. We may not commence phase two, which is supposed to happen in 2 weeks. The possibility of this second wave, I mean, for many people, those who believe and gobble up government packaged propaganda, I guess you may be already afraid. I'm seeing some people saying, all of you people who going out and buying food and going in the doubles line and stuff, y'all would make the country have to shut down again. Our last known case of COVID-19 was 19 days ago, April the
If
26th,
they are
to be
telling the
exact,
truth.
if
Hmm.
they are telling the truth. But according to reports, we still remain since April the 26th at 116 people having contracted the case, 8 deaths, and
8
I
deaths.
believe
Yeah.
well over 100 people have already recovered from the COVID-19. So, this brace for extension is, in my opinion, and you ladies, please feel free to jump in with yours. It's almost bordering on taking advantage of what this crisis means for the country. Because in the beginning, it started off being, yes, let's all be safe, let's protect ourselves, let's stay at home, let's self isolate, let's social distance. Now it's starting to feel like, okay, we haven't had any cases. Things are, we're relaxing the restrictions slowly, but you're telling us now to brace for something that we clearly have almost gotten over. Like, again, I mean, we haven't had any cases in 3 weeks. Isn't the quarantine period for this 14 to 21 days? What is that
Exactly.
about?
First of all, Clarence is an idiot. Secondly, Terrence, it's like, I don't know, Rowley went in a pool and picked the dumbest set out of the pool and say, right, these are my ministers. And then you're copying and pasting everything you see internationally and bringing it here. There's no thought as to how our people think, how our people are, what our people just do. So they just reacting to how the public react. So every time public do something, y'all better behave, We're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. So it's like there's always this big stick approach. If they had just come out honestly in the first place with all of the information and show Trinidadians this is how serious it is, this is how serious it could get, then people would have taken things more seriously. If people wasn't catching
Yes,
the
Lima.
act from the beginning because of their incompetence with the economy and not having people with access to money, things would not have been so hard.
Somebody's
Excuse.
dog.
Yes, that's my puppy. He was
Lim-
trying to come inside,
Oh,
and
Lord.
come inside. But
Yeah,
yeah,
well, like you say, Limit, it seems to be a copy and paste reaction because there are countries in the world that are experiencing a resurgence and they are seeing new cases coming up. And I don't mind if the government wants to have to show precaution, etc., etc. But you have to come with empirical data to say, okay, in the last 5 days we've had 10 new cases, etc., etc. So we want to brace for a second wave. But you can't just come and say that out of the blue because it seems to me like they're starting to prepare people for a second rating of the HSF. That is what it seems like to
yeah,
me, right?
yeah,
So that they can justify, right, the final, how you say, the final blow
yeah.
to our teacher and
And then,
economy.
and
That
those
is what it
Continuously
seems
companies
like to
who
me.
pumping for our
get
savings.
filthy rich,
Exactly.
and we still
A
suffering and catching one and
116 cases of COVID-19 cost this country $934 million, nearly $1 billion. And this is still only a projected 1/6 of the spend that they have outlined for COVID-19. The spend is supposed to be $6 billion, which for people who don't understand billions, it's $6,000 million. Remember, you used to think a million is a lot of money. Imagine multiplying a
Wow.
million, 1,000, right? Times six. $6,000 million is being allocated to COVID-19. And yesterday we had as the meter question, the poll question, do people believe that are they satisfied with the government's spend on social development, which of that $934 million, Michelle Davis outlined that we spend less than 14 million so far. Was it 41 million so far? Still a
Hmm.
drop in the bucket when you consider how much money we're spending all around the board. Less than $41 million on social outreach, social relief, and this would include grants. This would include
yeah, but you're
baskets and
still seeing
hampers.
videos of people who have not gotten grants, who have not gotten things. So where they ask they really do with this money? Where is this money? They need to show us a breakdown of how it was spent. How much did you allocate to actual social development? How did social development find out about these people who have these issues? Is it they give it to their party supporters, their friends out in family? Who? This is what we need to know because you're still seeing people suffering who can't get things. And if you still have people like that, that means all you did not share that grant equally. You did not share it how it's supposed to be shared. I saw a video of a man quarreling saying somebody from in the States call and say he get his grant and he living abroad. So how the hell it is he could get it and then people down here still can't get? PNM is full of shit and people need to start to wake up and see this. And this is how they have always been. They give their people who they deem necessary for it instead of actually helping people who actually need
Party
it.
card. Those who have their
Yeah,
party card.
and who know who and all kind of thing. And this is the bullshit that we need to get rid of. It is not about who know who. It is about helping every single citizen, regardless of your position, your power, your authority, what level of society you're in.
Exactly. Exactly what you're saying, Lima. Because people will tell me how well had I say you're real fixated on this grants thing. And I really am. Because everything that has happened this week, as far as I'm concerned, with who lie and this and that and the other, it is distraction, right? From the
Yeah.
fact that people are praising the government, saying that they are doing a fantastic job, when at the end of the day, the smallest man has not received a rent grant. They're still fighting up
A
for food
measly
hampers. They're still fighting up
$1,500 grant.
for $1,500 grants. They have people have gotten nothing, and I'm asking every week, what are the numbers? So this week, how many persons have been issued grants this week?
Yeah.
Are we still at 1,000? And people
They
are
always
not going back and taking them to task for that?
2,991.
they
That's the last
always
number
doing
we got,
some sort of programs, right?
2,991.
Watch out for the
Producer,
shit
please check
PNM.
your WhatsApp. I sent you just a second. Satish, please check your WhatsApp. I sent you a message concerning the show. Anyway, go ahead, Lamar.
Watch how full of shit they are. When it's close to election time or just before, they just send around a census program. So you just know all who living in which house, how much people working, blah, blah, blah. So you can take that same census and figure out how much people catching the tail. And it doesn't even matter who catching the tail or not. Every citizen deserves it because it's COVID. This is not something that we for. There's not a hurricane. There's not some random thing that we could prepare for regularly. This is something that was unleashed and it took us by storm because of our incompetent government, yet again.
Yeah, and I agree. I think every person, if they are at working age and they show this, they have a job, every citizen would have been entitled to that money.
Yeah.
No questions asked. No questions asked.
Yeah.
As the Minister of Health tells us to brace for an extension, the citizens, those who are concerned about the government and their spending are also concerned about them taking further or taking advantage, depending on how you look at it. To me, it's further advantage because I do not believe that $934 million was spent in the best interest of the people. I mean, even yesterday in the poll, 96% of people said no, they don't believe that
Of
the
course not.
government has
And then you're
spent
going to
enough
see
on
them buy some other
just
Swedish expensive car to come driving around showing everybody, look at me, look at me. Where the hell they get that money from to buy that? To import it and all of these things with the 7% extra online tax and all kind of, I'm going to say the expletive word, but I will control my industrial
that's no
language.
cutting in the show. You get
Lisa,
ass and no more.
But they
I
overdoing
want to move
it.
on from this. I want to
How
move on
stupid
from this
can we
topic,
really be?
mostly because it's annoying to think about. One of my fears is that they're going to come closer to the end and say, whoops, we found 100 more cases of COVID-19. That is my fear. That I don't want to say my fear, that's my concern because I don't trust these people. I don't trust that we were testing enough to begin with. I don't trust the actual numbers and I don't trust them because if you can lie about not knowing who came on a plane that you signed the document to let them in, what else could you be lying about? And I'm saying to
exactly.
people, these people are the people that you have in charge of spending $6 billion of your money. You understand that? The people that you're brushing off
Hmm.
their lies about, if they're lying about something so small and so stupid, what else could they be lying about? How could you trust somebody like that? You never give a thief your budget for the month to account for. A man who you know lying to you, would you give him money and tell him, here, account for my money for me? No. But it's kind of what
No,
we're
but you
doing with
see, that's
our
what Trinidadians like to do. We
government
will
right now.
believe the shirt and tie, and because they speak so eloquently with accents and so forth, we believe those people. But the regular Joe, who black and in a vest and a short pants, you will condemn him and want him to get hung.
So true.
White collar bandits get away with murder in this country, literally
Yeah.
and figuratively. They get away with murder in this country. And the people who allow it to happen are the people who catch in their tail and who continue to hold up white collar banditry, not understanding that they are the reason for both white collar crime and the crime with guns that being picked up and used against our own people in the community. But anyway, moving on to the next topic, government has passed a new bill approving the Trinidad and Tobago Revenue Authority, or the TTRA, to be set up under the Ministry of Finance. Now, for those who would have paid attention to this bill, this bill was passed about 14 days ago, uh, and it basically is taking the Inland Revenue Division out from the public service, out of the Public Service Commission to be more specific, and putting it
Mhm.
under the Ministry of Finance, under the Minister of Finance, as a operating as a sort of private entity of sorts. So I guess the best way to describe it would be the privatization of the Inland Revenue Division and the
Mhm.
income from customs,
More
etc.
bubble.
Now, the Minister of Minister under the Ministry of Finance, Miss Alison West, she was on a morning program about 2 days ago explaining what this would mean for the public. I think the biggest concern was that it would be whether it would be transparent enough and how is it going to operate in terms of moving it out of the Public Service Commission. Many people are wondering how are the taxes going to be accounted for, because this system would
Mhm.
now take well, it's supposed to bridge the wage, not the wage gap, the tax gap. Apparently we are supposedly collecting or in a deficit of 11 to 15 billion dollars in tax collection as a country, meaning that we have a lot of we have a lot of businesses that are in operation but not paying taxes. And this exercise, which she pointed out, was mirrored in other countries like Guyana. I'm not sure if Guyana is the best the best
Example.
wage
Example.
of this Guyana, who just had a very questionable, corrupt electoral process take place a couple months ago. But this exercise was used in Guyana, and they claimed to have seen a 60% increase in tax revenue across the country. Now, for us here in Trinidad and Tobago, for people who already do not trust our government, who don't trust this Minister of Finance, who don't trust just our income and revenue collection streams, this particular initiative is raising some questions. For me, though, before I even get into the income part of it, the reason for moving the TTRA out from, well, establishing a TTRA and moving it from under the public service is apparently because the public service is operating at, or the Public Service Commission is operating at 50% capacity. They have a lot of vacancies, apparently 50%
So who
vacancies
responsible
that
for
they
filling these
can fill.
vacancies? Isn't he showing the incompetence of their management of the whole friggin' thing? Because you could go
That
to your service commission and say, look, we have these 50 vacancies, fill them. You have people already in your service who doing all kind of upgrading of skills, financial management, they have all the different fields. You could use this opportunity to shift around your public service. Ask all who want to transfer in that department and move it around. And then you take in a new batch of clerk ones to move up again. That's employment. But showing your
Hmm.
incompetence is better that way, and then privatizing where you would have had proper checks and balances in that public service, because you have a million books plus computer, and we don't throw in at any public service. So you could go and find a book from since Eric Williams was a little boy, still in some vault somewhere, and find out records or certain things. Under this TTRA, what it is you're going to have.
well, Lemma, following on from what you're saying, the Public Service Commission apparently employs over 60,000 people, and they, I don't know if when you open the papers, I know Hadassah, you haven't been here in a while, but every time you open a newspaper, there is always a vacancy in the public service.
Yes.
Always a
Yes.
vacancy. But
Yeah.
I remember seeing a meme floating around on Facebook a couple months ago. Welcome to Trinidad and Tobago, where everybody always have vacancies but nobody hiring. And that is what I
Yeah.
feel like the Public Service Commission is about. There are forever vacancies within the public service, yet it doesn't mirror the fact that we have so many people who don't have jobs. And then when you just raise it, we have class one, class twos. The minister, she mentioned, Mrs. West, she mentioned that there are some people operating 3 years or three steps above their acting in roles above their pay grade, because they
Yeah.
have the Public Service Commission has not yet figured out how to promote people. And I'm trying to understand how could the body that is responsible for hiring and promotion in our entire public service be failing at such an alarming rate, operating at 50% capacity? That is failure. You might as well be operating at none, because why and you see, this is the deliberate incompetency that Michelle Davis always talks about, because we operating at 50% capacity, which now makes the case for moving a public service responsibility and privatizing it, basically putting it under the minister. And it's obviously creating raising questions for the public, who's asking, how is this money going to be accounted for? And they're saying, it's going to go directly into the government account. But how are we supposed to verify that information? There are so many things that we are being told. $934 billion spent on COVID-19. Who and how are we going to verify that this is indeed true? We are now talking about increasing taxes in Trinidad and Tobago, something that I am not sure I am happy with, because
At a
right
time
now, what
when
are
the
we doing with
economy is
income
at a
taxes?
standstill due to PNM, fake economy crash, right? People not having access to money, people balling, begging. You're seeing people thieving food. You really want to put tax now? And then you wouldn't be taxing your large organizations. You're not going to be going behind all of them who ain't pay tax for the year. You're going behind the small man who are already catching his tail to pay basic things. Because again, when you open your business, the amount of thing is this, is that, is this form, is that form. You're not sure if you're supposed to fill out this form, so you fill it just because it's a form for you to fill out. To get information is a next set of red tape, because the person they hire at the counter is somebody friend, and she ain't know what going on in that particular ministry. She's just a contractor or OJT, so they don't really know what going on. So it's like a deliberate destruction of the public service to always make it incompetent and always make it underperform. So you will have an excuse now to go and privatize every blasted part of the thing, when all you have to do is go in your service commissions and find out how many vacancies. Right, we want you all to start hiring. That's all it takes. Give them the word to start hiring, to fill your vacancies, and then they will do their internal works to figure out how many vacancies, start moving up people. And what they could have done in the meantime too, you have people who fed up at the public service right now, because right now they're frustrating the hell out of people. So start offering people over a certain age visa, and let the who want to retire go, and you move up, and you keep doing that on a yearly basis, offering people your voluntary separation package or early retirement or something for those who want to go. So you always have a revolving employment, bringing in people, and stop bringing in contract workers. Bring in your people through your clerks, but you keep doing contract workers and OJT, so you don't have to pay a pension later on.
And
Hmm.
that is probably the biggest problem with the Public Service Commissioner, because they're clearly burdened with all of these vacancies. But is it that they don't have the money? And I have to believe they don't have the money to actually pay people the compensation that they deserve, and not just their remuneration package, but exactly what you said, pension. From the time you hire somebody on a permanent basis, you now have to talk things like pension. You have to talk things like health insurance and life insurance and all of this nonsense.
The
Well,
health
all of this
insurance is a
necessary
shitty
things.
plan from M&M, so it's a very basic. So if their plan, like say, just for ballpark figures here, let's say the cheapest package is let's just say $200, they will choose that. Whatever you get for the 200, they couldn't care less, right? Your
So
collective
what do
Hmm.
agreement with
contract
the union,
workers? What do
nothing. You
contract
just
workers?
nothing. You just get your salary.
And
Yeah,
that
that doesn't
therein is
seem to make any sense.
that's the whole
No.
problem there, because we're trying to evade paying people and paying, and it points clearly to the fact that this country is running on monopoly money, like Michelle Davis also says, because we have so many vacancies that we need filled, but we clearly don't have the money to be paying people the compensation that they should be getting for the job. So we
Not only
continue
that,
to
it's
operate in a minimal
deliberately
capacity.
done. It is deliberately done. Look at a perfect example. When Manning was in office, they stopped hiring customs officers, right? That was what, 2005 or something like that. So there was a whole 5-year period they didn't bring in anybody for customs. And then in 2010, I think they did an advertisement for customs and they opened it up to the general public. Now, why on earth would you do that? Advertise it within your public service so your public servants who are already familiar with the bureaucracy, the red tape, and the bullshit that does just go on in the public servants service already know about it. So they could have moved up and moved out of where they were and tried something different and moving. You a whole set of people that you're bringing from outside who not familiar with it, come, get through, realize, wait, now, there's the dog work I had to do, there's the small pay, and bust out. So you still have vacancies.
Hmm.
And it was deliberately done. So your customs will always be incompetent and they will always say, well, they're lazy and you'd never had nobody on the shift and all of that because they're short staff and they're purposely short staff.
Wow.
Hadassah.
And well, going back to the whole issue of the TTRA and why they feel the need to privatize it, you always have to ask the question, okay, so who is this going to benefit? Because the obvious solution would be if you had 50% capacity, it would be, well, to increase capacity, get it to 80%, 90%, 100%, so that we don't have to worry about transparency or mismanagement of funds, etc., etc. But to me, it always seems that the government only seems able to organize themselves when it comes to finding ways to line the pockets of their financiers or the 1%, or when it comes to taxing the population. They could never seem to organize themselves when it comes to tourism, when it comes to education, when it comes to diversifying the economy, when it comes to infrastructure, paving the roads, making sure people have water in the taps. The only thing this government is good at organizing themselves at is ways to tax people. And that is my issue with all of this.
Yeah. They do
Perfectly
things
said, Hadassah.
to suit their 1% and anything for the 99%. I'm sorry, we can't do. They rather clap for the medical staff and nurses instead of giving the people a raise.
Exactly. And why not hire people and give them a pension and give them and that type of security, because these people now will feed into the economy when they pay taxes and NIS and health surcharge, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah.
Why would you make a whole bunch of contract workers who at the end of the day not really contributing to the economy? It's a cycle.
Yeah.
So it's not
And the thing
making any
about
sense.
it is, the sad part in this whole thing is that you don't want to settle your public servants' salary negotiations, right? The first thing when public servants get money, what they just do? They just go and deposit the money in the bank, pay off loan, take our next loan. That is money circulating in your
True.
system. I know that. I know plenty of people from the time you get your that slip saying yes, you get your
Yeah, back
20,000,
pay.
30,000
Yes.
in your back. You just see all
Yeah.
of them in Rand Credit Union or in the bank lineup to
It's
pay
so
off
true.
whatever to take something. So that is money revolving. Why wouldn't you not
It's
settle
healthy.
negotiations?
Yeah.
And negotiations for your entire public service and civil service. So is customs, police, fire, prisons, nurses. You have your airports authority people, your key people that holding you up as a government, you treating bad. You don't want to pay the
Yeah.
salary negotiations. What happened? Always a set a dog.
And then it's no
But final
wonder.
rental
It's
agreement
no
being cut it.
wonder why. Yeah. Then it's no wonder why service is so poor, because you
Yeah.
don't treat people well. You don't treat them like if they matter. So you cannot go and expect stellar customer service. It's impossible, because people are
And not
worrying
only
how
that,
we're going to pay this bill
when
and whatnot and
you,
whatnot.
you have them working for a shit salary, right? And look at the
Hmm.
conditions half of them have to work in. You spend 500 million on Red House and President's Grounds to look pretty to when tourists come to see how nice the buildings look. But Port of Spain General Hospital is a hot damn mess. When you go inside the hospital itself and you walk through the wards and you actually have to spend time in that hospital, you will see all what's wrong with it. It has cupboards with wood lice, the doors falling off, all kind of stupidness, and you have people inside of there. But then that is
Yeah.
what they do, purposely run down buildings, so you have to go and spend $1 billion to fix it, which is what they do with the Red House and President's House. So your 1%
Or
people
build a
could make
new one.
while everybody else
On the
can
topic
get a
of
simple contract.
spending billions of dollars on things that we don't need, vanity projects, we're now going to be, and they're saying that we're spending 11, or we're supposed to get 11 to 15 billion dollars extra, or that's the tax gap right now that we're losing out on, 11 to 15 billion dollars. What about the big businesses that evade corporation, that evade tax? What
Yes.
about them? The doctors who join two salaries, one working in the public service and one for your private sector, but you're only getting taxed on what you're working for in the public service. What about them? Because this initiative, this TPRA, is meant to go after the businesses that are not paying taxes. But usually what you find is they go behind the doubles vendors and the hairdresser and the man selling water and nuts at the side of the road. But the big businesses who can actually afford to pay taxes, those are the ones who continuously are able to evade taxes. And I'm hearing them saying that they're moving this out of the Public Service Commission. But I'm not hearing exactly what are they going to implement to be able to go after the people who can't afford to pay taxes but who have been evading taxes, like those big corporations and the doctors driving two cars and Mercedes-Benz S-Series and all of the fancy things. What you usually find is the small man who, in my opinion, should not be paying taxes if you're making below a certain percentage. And they say that you're not supposed to be making, yet you find it's usually the small man that they're going after. It's usually the ones who can't afford to, who have overhead costs that probably more than the taxes or less than the taxes that you're trying to charge them. What about that situation? And the money that you're spending on all of these vanity projects, is it that we're going to take this increased tax revenue and further splurge it? Is that we're going to take this tax revenue and actually invest it in the dilapidated hospitals that we have right now? Or is it just going to go into the hands and the pockets of contractors building multi-story buildings that are going to be rented out to other friends and financiers and contractors? What is going to be the case with that?
And the thing also, you know what else that upsetting me? They stopped the justice on time contract for prisons. What are money going to do now? They ain't put a freeze on the rent agreement for Forest buildings. We could have used that money now, ain't?
Hmm. Well, like you're
We
saying,
definitely
Felicia, it's
could
always easier to go after the small man. Um, and if it is that the government is like experiencing um, a lot of tax evasion from bigger corporations, etc., then that has to fall squarely on the shoulders of the government and they have to take the blame for that. And I always ask the question why it is you always want to introduce new and complex systems on top of a broken system? Because what Trinidad is really missing is a comprehensive integrated database, right? A database system where if you know that these people are in business, then they're supposed to be paying a certain amount of taxes, and then you're supposed to diligently make sure you get that money from them every single year. And you're not doing that. You're not doing that. And it's always
Yeah.
like it's always easier to pick on this small man, and
Yeah.
the small man will run and pay because they're afraid they get jailed. They're afraid they would no longer be able to operate their business and whatnot. So
Yeah.
again, the country only seems to work for a small amount of a few people.
Yeah.
But then also, I would pay taxes readily and easily if I saw my tax dollars working for me. The Minister Alison, where she said, now, people evade taxes, and now that we're going through this COVID-19, they're saying, oh God, where my compensation, where my this? Do you know that the taxes are being used to pay that? And I'm saying, lady, you
Yeah.
can't be serious with this because outside of COVID-19, how does my tax dollars work for me? I walk into the hospital. and I have to
Yeah,
sit
but you're
down and
paying tax
scrub
for
Benton for
every damn
hours.
thing. So what they doing with the
Yeah.
money? You raise
But that's what I'm
import
asking.
7%
What is the
tax. You're
money being
paying
used
tax
for?
and duties on every single thing, and you still want more? God, these people don't have a heart. Tax
The question
yourself.
is not so much you're wanting more, but wanting more to do what? Like I saying, is my are my public services going to get
Towards what
better?
they say they're
Am
supposed
I
to do.
going
Exactly.
Somebody said the other day
am I
online,
going to
oh,
get
somebody said, oh, in these foreign countries, you just pay tax. And I was like, jackass, you pay tax when you're over there, but you just get water when you turn on your pipe all the time. You just get proper services. The bus don't ever stop working. They don't tell you, well, it's late on your hour. You had to wait for our next bus. It's the next 5 minutes. And they just issue an apology why the bus was late. You don't even get that in PTSD.
It's true. It is
That
very
is
true.
indeed true. And Hadassah, you mentioned something that I just want to circle back on in terms of us basically ignoring the problem. And I want to go back to that Public Service Commission because I can't believe that the response to a failing ministry is to add a separate ministry
Hmm.
as another layer on top of that rather than fix the core
As
problem. Because,
usual.
okay, this is the income revenue um department. Okay, so we're gonna fix that one. But what about the other public services that rely on the Public Service Commission for their employees, for human capital to run their sector of
You
the
know
government? And
what's also the problem? It have too many services. You have statutory service commission, you have service commission, you have public service commission. And each one of them responsible for hiring different people for different places. Why you just don't have one authority for all of your civil servants and public servants? And that's
yet we
where you
never
could
have the
figure
right
out
people to the right
you
places.
could figure out how many vacancies you really have across the board. So you,
Yeah.
as Sadasa said, you have a database, you can click right, fire service, click right, we have 100 vacancies. Let's work on that. Police, right, we have how much vacancies? Nurses, doc, come on, man, what kind of how we running this? This is not even a parlor being run here. And they don't ever like to fix the problem. They like to put plasters on sores. So instead of finding out the
Yes.
root cause as to why we're not hiring and why they short staff, you just want to hire contract people. Or, okay, we'll just close it down or no, not even close it down, We will still have that, but we will open something else and hire people there instead of have the people in the service commission.
Undo and
Three
redo.
different
I get it now.
three different hiring committees that are
Yeah.
responsible for hiring and promoting no one, clearly, based on what we are seeing right now.
And then in the
I
public
mean,
service right now,
country,
you have issues that outside that coming in. So you have nepotism, you have favoritism is nepotism, but you have racism as well. Okay, well, we go hire the Indian instead of the African. You have all that kind of stupidness. So you need to start to deal with
Yeah.
the issues. So outside
Yeah.
national issues coming in your public service now because of people with the foolishness and the well, I's PNM and I's UNC and all this kind of foolishness. Come on.
Yeah.
the politicization of the public service it really is real because you see it when a new government comes into office. All of a
Yeah,
sudden, people are fired or shifted or moved from one department to the next.
yeah,
And it's similar to what we do with housing, similar to what we do in other areas in this country where it is all politically based, similar to what we do with the freaking not salary relief, the grants, not the grants, the food cards and stuff that we gave out.
yeah,
If you support me, you get all of that madness that we continue
Uh-huh.
to do. It's the reason why we continue to fail, and we keep exposing it because people have to understand 1 + 1 = 2. The reason things are failing, it all adds up. The math is there. We have to remove the whole tribalist vote in politics from everything that has literally found itself in every system in this
yeah.
country. The whole
Wow.
and basically corrupting everything that we do. It's 9 o'clock in the morning.
Hmm.
That man in
Gunman
your
in
hole.
your
Sorry,
hole.
I had to say it. And I think Gunman is on the live this morning. Thank you for joining us this morning on Pep Talks, Mr. Philip Edward Alexander. You get a special shout out. Like I said, it's 9 o'clock, well, 9:01 a.m. We are going to take a short break and come back. We are opening the phone lines for your calls. Please stay with us.
Antel is Trinidad's most reliable and technically experienced ICT company, providers of quality structured cabling, Cat6 data fiber, and power cables. We also stock cabling infrastructure basket-type cable trays for server rooms and data centers. Antel also installs and maintains video security systems including cameras, alarms, and electronic entrance locks for businesses and residential properties. Call Antel 674-1406 or 783-9250.
We are back and we have to move into a topic driven or several topic driven discussions. And before I do so, do we have any birthdays to recognize today? Do we? Satish, if we have any, please send it to me so I can shout out all of our birthday people this morning. If you have a birthday, please send it on the live or feel free to call in. Our phone lines are open for your calls this morning. If you would like to contribute, no birthdays on his page according to Satish. If you'd like to contribute to our discussion, if you would like to say hi to the beautiful Hadassah and Lima McLeod who are joining us this morning. Or if you would just like to call in and talk it out, because this segment is open to you to call in and speak with us. Somebody, Enrique, sent to say good morning, Hadassah and Lima. So Lima and Hadassah, y'all could probably say hi to Enrique.
Good morning, Enrique.
Good
Sent
morning,
me a shout
Enrique.
on your behalf. Yes. So back to the discussion. So on a Friday, we touch on our current event topics. And please, if you have not yet voted in the poll, it should be up on your screen. Do you think Stuart Young should be fired over this issue with the Venezuelan delegation?
Delegate.
Actually thinking about it, the question really should have been, do I think he should be investigated? But actually, no, not even that. Definitely should he be fired, because we love to do investigations in this country that cost taxpayers millions and millions of dollars that go no freaking where.
And go nowhere. Yes.
I think, was it, yes, Philip used that term once, gang members, those sellout gang members, and that is exactly what you see in this country. The man investigating you is your partner who is knocked back glass with on a Saturday. So until that changes, I guess we would leave it on the citizens to be the ones actually calling for this change in the country. Anyway, on to the topic-driven discussion that we're supposed to have this morning. Hadassah wanted to discuss the prevalence of inequality in our society. And because this was her specific topic, I will let you lead this discussion, Hadassah, and Lima and I will follow on from what you had in mind to discuss.
Okay. Well, this week, everybody was praising Derek Chin. He was coming home from Miami. And on his way, he stopped in the Bahamas and he picked up the cancer patient who has been petitioning for the longest while that she needs to come home for medical help. And of course, Stuart Young was insisting that the borders are closed, there are no exemptions, etc., etc., etc. However, in one foul swoop, Derek Chin was able to pick her up and bring her home, and everybody is praising him to the skies. And I'm saying, look, okay, yes, that was a really nice gesture. That was a good thing to do. But everybody is not seeing that he has access and he has the means and the ability to fly in and out of this country even when the borders are closed. When I myself am in a position where I would love to come home and I cannot. I'm not even bothering to send any letter or petition anybody because I want to be, well, law abiding, you know. But two, I know it's not going to get me anywhere because they didn't budge a foot for the persons who were in Barbados, etc., etc. And we have to, until we could get to the point where we say it is one law for all.
Mm-hmm.
One law for all, we are not going to go anywhere. Right? Because this girl, why isn't that Churchill couldn't say, well, we'll make the exception for her because she has a medical emergency. That made sense to me, right? But now we have to come and make a hero out of Derek Chin for I don't know, was the word undermining the same laws or structure and systems that we have in place? I don't
Yeah,
agree.
I agree.
We're seeing,
People with
we're
money
seeing
in
it.
Trinidad and Tobago live on a different reality to us who don't have that kind of money to roll around in. Because if your Minister of National Security says our borders are closed, then Delcy came in, Delcy left. So the borders were
Hmm.
temporarily opened and then reclosed again. And then Derek flew out or was already out and decided, okay, well, I'm ready to
Was
come
able to
home.
fly in. Yes.
I will train. So while the borders still closing from Delcy's departure, you see the borders closing here. He was able to fly through that space while the border was closing, right?
Like the
I don't
wormhole on
understand.
Avengers.
Yeah, yeah. The shield, the force field coming around Trinidad and
Yeah.
Tobago, so it have that space in between there, and that's when Derek flew through. Yeah, because he have money and he rolling around in dirt. For all you know, he have a spaceship somewhere packed up in his yard home, right? What message
Yeah,
that
it's
supposed
not
to send?
fair. It is not fair.
We have 68 students right now in Barbados who are pleading, begging with our Minister of National Security to let them come home. University students who
They need to plead
obviously are
with
not in
direction.
school. Unfortunately, Garrick Plain probably did not have room for all 68 of them. These students, their stipends that they got to live while they're over there have all more or less finished, and they are desperate to be reunited with their families. They are desperate to come home and just
Derek don't have a
be
movie tongue
in
over there.
country.
Maybe he could house them over there in movie tongue Barbados. No?
Look what look.
I don't believe there is a movie town Barbados, but even if there were,
Watch and
seriously
see he
on
gonna
this
have one
issue,
after this.
though, seriously on this issue, and Hadassah, I'm glad that you raised it as a topic because apart from those 68 students, we still have those in Suriname and Margarita, etc. We still have
Yeah, we have
Trinbagonians
some in
all around the
India.
world
Yes.
who want to
Yes.
come
Didn't he
home.
give
And I
exact
remember
figures
when
as to how many Trinidadians all over the world? Didn't it amount to quite a bit?
So a lot of people.
there's a lot of
Yeah.
people, and I remember when the Canadian government put out their spend for COVID-19, and I saw they were spending well over 100 million on repatriating their citizens. And since then, you have heard of planes landing in Trinidad and Tobago to take their citizens back home.
Yeah.
I looked at that $934 million that we spent, and nothing was mentioned on repatriation. Nothing was mentioned on being able to reunite people with their families, being able to help people who would have been over there and are stuck and can find no means of making a living for themselves. This is the situation as it is right now, and inequality, the fact that there is inequality. I mean, I appreciate and I applaud Direction for doing what he could have probably done within his means. But what about the people who can't afford to hire a jet to come home and bring them and pick up other passengers
Yeah.
along the way? What about the 68 students who working nowhere, living on a stipend that is running dry? What about people who have medical conditions and went abroad to deal with these medical conditions because they
Yes.
can't rely on our local public service? So you're over there, you're stuck, your money run out. What about them? the have and the have not. Lima and I were talking about this last week Wednesday when she came on the show. The disparity is real, and it's not just real with what we're seeing with those who are stuck versus those who can afford. You're also seeing it in this phased reopening of the businesses too. And I was not aware. I
Yes.
only heard it in the articles. I only realized that Witco, a cigarette company, was allowed to reopen during phase one. I had no idea that that was happening. But again,
Yes, that's
how and Philip Franco asked the question in his protest yesterday and day before, how is a cigarette company, a company responsible for selling products
How is
that
that
kill you,
essential?
an essential
Mm-hmm.
service over me as a naturopathic doctor? That's what he is, a naturopathic doctor dealing with herbs and natural ways to cure you and remedies to deal with reversing symptoms of that very thing that is killing you, that is being produced by Witco. How are they
yeah.
not considered essential and allowed to open? And you hear about it and you see it happening, but I don't think it is as stark the contrast between those who have and those who don't have in this country as it is in Trinidad and Tobago. And it really boils down to who you know, who you're connected to, how much money they have. Somebody was Philip last night on his live video was saying, they're saying that when the 1% want to open a business, they would go to the bank, and that's not true. And it's exactly what he said. They go to their family members, they call them and say, Uncle Tom, I ready to open my cannabis pot cafe. I need a $10 million injection. That's what they do. It's only poor
Yeah.
people and middle people have to go and line up in a bank and fill out
Fight
40
up with the
forms
bank.
dating your
Mm-hmm.
ancestral history back since 1940 just to open a
Yeah.
bank account, just to get a loan. I will never forget going to First Citizens Bank, and it used to be my favorite bank until this incident happened, trying to get a mortgage. And I had everything. I had the deposit, I had the job letter, I had the recommendation, I had the credit score, I had everything on paper for the loan other than the last name clearly, because despite having everything, I was still rejected. And Lima, you put out a post last
Yeah.
night that was on freaking button when you were young. And when I was young, I used to think that it was so easy. You work hard, you
Mhm.
study hard,
Yeah.
you get a job, you get married, you move out, you settle down, you raise some
Yeah.
children, you start a farm and garden. And it has been anything but for the average Shenrigonian. If you are born into the wrong family, if you have the wrong
Yeah.
last name, it will forever be a fight up to climb the ladder, Lima.
Yeah.
Yes, it's true. So we should all just go and apply to change our last names. But that's
Yeah.
to show you the reality all of us just had to go through. There are certain sectors in society where they don't even have to set foot in the bank. They could make a phone call and the manager will deal with whatever it is. Or online banking, or they have a personal assistant who will run around and do all of that for them. The rest of us had to go and line up for hours. And now the banks have you lining up outside. So yesterday when I passed down Frederick Street, I saw Scotiabank customers standing up outside in the sun, and doing their 3 feet apart, social distancing in the hot blazing sun, waiting to go into the bank. Same as FCB, same as Republic Bank. All these banks on Independence Square. And it's like, okay, we the sheep have to suffer while the slave masters crack their whips and they get through with life. Everybody else stuck on a
And it's
lottery.
really so sad. It's really so sad because the average citizen represents the lifeblood of so many institutions and so many organizations. The bank cannot continue to operate if everybody
Without
decides to boycott. Prestige Holdings will fall apart in a week if everybody decides, I am not
Rumble.
buying, I am crumble, right? But we are always treated like if we do not matter. And like Lima says,
just
it have a
just
few
the other
people,
day.
they need just click their fingers, and
Yeah,
it's a golden rule to success.
I just the other day I also put up a post, right? The health minister, remember when he started off, oh, healthy eating. more fruits and more veggies and blah blah blah. Look how expensive it is to buy healthy food,
Yeah.
and look how cheap it is to buy the
Mm-hmm.
junk food. Why isn't it the other way?
Yeah.
You can't get a
Exactly.
healthy meal for $20. You had to settle for junk food for $20, right? You wouldn't even get water with the junk food. You know, you're getting soft drink to solidify the
Hmm.
fat you just shoved down your throat, right?
Sweet drink. Drink a sweet drink and
Yeah.
drink a solo
So,
and
so
down
what
that
message
special.
they're really sending? Yeah. What message you're really sending? Right? In the schools, they tell you, in the cafeteria, they tell you, parents send more fruits, more healthy stuff for your children. But you have to buy fruits on a weekly basis because fruits have a short shelf life, right?
Yeah.
So how much money you think people have every week to buy fruits every day to send for your child? You can't buy the same fruit every single day. You have to buy different fruits what your children will eat, right? So obviously it's cheaper to get them money to buy whatever's junk food the cafeteria selling because to buy fruits you're spending what more than $50 a week. If you don't have that kind of loose change to do that, how you expect it to happen? How you expect it
Last
to
time,
And
happen?
I only sorry about
go ahead and
that.
ask.
I only became aware. I only became aware of how expensive our food is when I some years ago I had some friends from Germany and I was taking them around and they were here for 2 weeks and they just kept lamenting, oh my God, food is so expensive. And I'm thinking, why are you guys why are you guys complaining? I mean, yes, you're spending euro, right? You have money to burn. But it is true, our food is so expensive compared to other places. And I have been to Mexico where food is dog cheap, right? And if
Hmm.
you want to live a healthy lifestyle, you could have fruits and vegetables every day at a fraction of the cost that it costs you to do so in Trinidad. And that shouldn't be so.
Diabetes. Diabetes is one of the Trinidad has one of the highest.
Felicia,
Diabetes,
stop.
high cholesterol, probably. High cholesterol, heart conditions too. We have all those issues, and yet still our health minister not really, educating the
Rates
public
of
on these things. Felicia,
Yeah, she
I
just,
think
yes,
it looked like
boss.
she cut out and she come back in. Are
Look,
you still here?
you hearing me?
yeah.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I laughing at how Lemma called my name Felicia. I am here. It was just frozen for a half of a second. I was saying that cholesterol and diabetes is one of the highest in Trinidad and Tobago. And when you look, that thing that we were boasting about, and Shari and I were talking about it earlier on the show, I will never forget when we were boasting about being the top selling KFC in the world, and we sell the most
Yes.
amount of KFC in
Yeah.
the world. And I'm like, people understand that that's not the kind of record that you want to be known for, right? Like, you want to be known
Yeah.
as selling the most unhealthy, toxic food that you could put in your system. I mean, I wouldn't lie, a box of that does smell real good. But
Yeah.
since stopping eating KFC 2 years ago, I feel healthy. I feel
So
as
much
if my
better.
life
Yes.
is better because every time I ate KFC, and I don't know if this has happened to you all, every time I ate KFC, I felt to throw up. I feel like I don't know if it's the oil, and it doesn't matter where I eat it from. I don't know if Trinidad and Tobago got an extra herb and spice besides the 11 herbs and spices, but if we did, that one wasn't agreeing with me at all. Because I swear to you, and it was probably the best decision that I ever made. But so many Trinbagonians, that is their staple, KFC and junk food, and that is what we
Yeah.
eat. But when you look at it,
No, but
we
watch,
spend
watch, watch how it's done, because he has access to money. He can open a branch in all the key hot areas, hustle and bustle
you
areas.
think
Every
he's holding
town
eating
has
KFC?
a KFC. Hmm?
You think he eating KFC? Come on,
No,
let's be real. Or he
he's
eating
really
steak
Exactly.
dinners and
here. Rare
linguine
steak,
and
a
customs
glass
and
of red wine, mashed potatoes, and
ribeye steak and
sausage.
yeah, and a glass of wine because wine. Come on, we the people who propping up these systems, loving and eating these food and gobbling it down and making people like Mr. Prestige Holdings rich. people who would never eat the same product that they're selling to
Yeah.
us, the consumers. And then just circling back on that inequality thing, we propping up these businesses, and like Hadassah saying, we now try to go to the bank to get a loan is a fight up scene.
Yeah.
We constantly stuck in jobs that no matter how hard you work, how long you work, you would never go anywhere. And when I say never go anywhere, your life will constantly be a fight up to provide for your family, to put a roof
Yeah.
over their head, to feed them healthy lunches and meals that you're supposed to send them to school with. People in this country, particularly black people in this country, the ones who prop up all of these fast food chains, are constantly stuck in a cycle of being consumers to people who
Will spit on them.
have, I I would not have put it like that, but people who
Will
don't even
spit on
have to study that, don't even have to study. You know what? Who will spit on them? Let's use Lima's. Let's use
And
Lima's terms for them.
Felicia, I have experienced that firsthand, talking about where you actually feel that fight down. I used to work for what I only call a 1% company. I don't want to call the name. And I got an opportunity to switch jobs and whatnot. So I resigned um, with immediate effect, right? And the chairman called me in his office, and the only way I can describe this is that he just tried to intimidate me. And he says, "You can't leave this work, and I will write you up in the newspaper, and I will sue you, and I will make an example out of you, and whatnot, because I decided I don't want your little job anymore." And I told him, I said, "Look, I have been here for so long. I have introduced so many new systems, and nobody is talking about upward mobility. Nobody is talking about giving me an increase in wages or anything like that. I said, this is no longer working for me, and that is why I have to leave. And it's a good thing I'm good for myself, because I went and pulled the same job contract that I signed, and it said that I was right well within my means to leave if I needed to, and they would have just recouped their monies from my last salary. And I leave them, and I was like, sayonara. And I was like, if I did not know my rights, right? If I wasn't a person who would go and sit down and research whatever, I would have probably still been stuck in that job because some white man screamed at me. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That is a
Yeah.
real thing. Intimidation and fear trying to
Yeah.
keep you down and keep you
Yeah.
in a position, and they are telling you you are only worth what, $5,000 a month, or you are only worth $5,500 a month. It's a
Yeah.
real thing.
Yeah. They try
Even
that
down on the line.
intimidation tactic so that you would, it's like to break your psyche so you will know your place. You are my sheep
Yeah.
to toy with and play with, and you will take it. I had a boss once too who he used to ball up at his staff. And when I say ball up, the man used to rah, he said, get so and so on the phone. So I called the person for him. And same time the man went to the bathroom. So what you want me to do? Tell the man, hold on, wait while you gone in the bathroom. I told him I will call him back. When I call him back now, the man gone. He vexed with me. As I said, you don't have a cell number, call him. He started get on. I said, yo, pal, not this person.
Yeah.
I
I'm
know
not
you
that
didn't
type
use
of
the word hatred. Stephen Down on the live said, then why are we blaming Mute when the real ones to blame, when we are the real ones to blame? So why are we blaming Mute, which is Christian Mute, when we
we
are the real
can
ones to
blame
blame?
him
It's of
because
supply
if
and demand.
regular food is not as cheap as that, what you want people who don't have money to buy? It is purposely set up like that. You cannot go and get
So
a meal for $20. You
as the
could get that.
consumers, if we boycott and we say we are not buying the junk food, if they want their
Yep.
goods to sell, they would reduce the price of the fresh produce.
On
Yeah, but does
Monday,
that work
on
in
Monday
So
Canada?
here's a
morning,
point.
Monday when they expected the long mad rush for KFC, and I passed two KFCs just to prove the point that it wasn't
Nothing.
going to be no long mad rush, and the lines were
Oh my
literally less
God.
than 10 people outside. Had that continued, or if it continues, you think the price of chicken would be
No, but not only
Felicia's
that,
on
even
again?
I don't know, she probably froze.
Yeah,
No,
she's
but
because she stuck momentarily.
even if
The price of
people
chicken.
do buy KFC, the problem will still be there. You think Clarence coming out to do anything about food, agriculture? Demand on ball, there are no talks for increasing
Yeah,
agriculture in the country. So you're still defeating the purpose. You're still
yeah.
defeating the
That is
purpose
why we
because they
need to
can grow
continue
it.
to push this. It's
Yeah.
supposed to be part of the national conversation and the national agenda. They are supposed to be
Since
making
COVID started,
health
I
and,
asked that question.
yes, increasing life
769
expectancy. Those are things that should be on the docket.
7694590. I've seen a lot of talk on the live. Call in and talk your talk in person. We would be happy to hear from you, and it would be a nice discussion. It would be nice and a nice addition to the discussion that we are having this morning. Stephen Downer said, no, teach them to cook. Teach them to cook it for themselves in a healthier way. Actually, I saw
Yeah, but
some
you
people
gotta have
during this
money to
COVID
buy it.
19. What's that?
You gotta have money to buy it. To buy a chicken, to buy the oil, to buy the stuff to cook it, if you know how to cook it. Is you still gotta have the money. If you have $20, where you could buy with $20, you can't go and buy chicken to go and fry it. You can't go and buy all of that. And this is the reality people need to understand. People don't have that kind of money to go and buy our groceries, to go home and cook it. First of all, some of these people don't even have a home where they could say it's mine to go and do that. You don't know what's the home lifestyle of people. I know people who just put things in their fridge home and then they had to cuss out their mother and their father because you take my thing, I put my thing in the fridge. You know? You don't know.
Yeah, it's
The
a lot
realities
of
are
layers.
different. It's easy for us to say buy food and cook. But if you don't have the money to buy the food to cook, what? Starve today to save the $20 and add it to the next $20 for the next day to go. This is why people, some of my coworkers have to do home gardening and all kind of thing and do stuff home for themselves because when they're spending $500 in transportation to come from South to Port of Spain to work every single day for the month, right? They have to cook. So when they have to buy food, it has to be the cheapest possible thing. Where's the cheapest possible thing?
Chris
Yeah.
Aberdeen on the live. Yes, we went big up this morning, and not for anything that you should be proud of. Did she check the delivery? There was a mad rush for KFC delivery. Shaking my head. Get all your facts right now. I don't know if that's something that you want to boast about, partner, based on what we're talking about. You want to boast that there was a mad rush for
Right.
delivery? Let's take a call this morning. Hello, good morning. You are
Hmm.
live on Pep Talks in the morning.
Yes, hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Lovely lady.
Morning.
You getting so nice, but I have some small points that was kind of thing. Like you went to the KFC that how to say, you watch the lines, you have to remember people still social distances. It would be hard to, you see what is going on in the back. People wouldn't stand up an hour, 2 hours outside at KFC. They have the call and pick up. They have delivery, and delivery was real mad. When I tell I'm a driver, and delivery was crazy.
Wow.
You understand? So it was, thing, and for with $20, let me tell you how it is work. If you have $20, that means you have $20 for each day. Like 7 days for the week. So that's how much? 140. You
40.
get in
Yeah.
chicken, oil, flour, sugar, all kind of things for $20 to last you for the whole week in order to cook your own meat. So it's not that people don't have money. People just plain lazy. They're lazy. If you watch through social media, through all this quarantine, it's because everybody complain, I fed up cook. I fed up cook because now, where they would cook 3 times a week while working, now they have to cook 4 or 5 times, probably every day, and probably in some cases, probably twice a day. So at the end of the day, Trinidadians just lazy. That's the bottom line. If I doubles in the morning, they eat a KFC for lunch, they probably buy bread and go with a piece of chicken and eat. That's just how it is.
Hmm.
All right.
I'll answer your comments on
Okay.
off air, right? Okay.
Mhm.
Thanks for the call. Maybe this was Chris, probably. I'm thinking so, seeing as he kind of echoes the comments
Mm-hmm.
that I saw the Chris person make. I don't know. Again, I don't think that saying that they did do better than, I don't know who that victory is for. The only person that victory could be for is the owners
Is
and the franchise
Presley Chosen.
owners of
Yes.
thing. It doesn't. It's not a positive for the people who rushed out or who stayed at home and took and called for delivery, because we were talking earlier about just how unhealthy all of this fast food is. I don't know if it's a win for them and their pockets if they spend that money on fast food rather than maybe buy some peas and rice to cook that could probably last them 2 or 3 days versus KFC, which would last them one box if you could
5 minutes.
spread it between lunch and dinner. I don't know, but when I eat fast food, I get hungry very quickly. I feel like maybe it's the artificial nature of it. I don't know, but I don't know if this is really a win. To say that Trinbagonians are lazy, I can't make such a general statement. I
I
know
know
that there are
plenty people who
people.
complain about the cooking, but as parents, they still cook. So that is some people reality. He probably know, but that's not everybody. I know plenty people
It
who
is also
prefer
a
a
culture
healthier
thing
choice
too.
in life. And if
It's also a culture thing as well, because you would look
yeah,
when you see fast food being purchased mostly by people who are from, I would want to say lower class. I don't like to use that word class, middle class, 'cause especially in Trinidad and Tobago, where middle class and lower class seems to have blurred the lines, because these days when I go to the grocery, I definitely don't feel middle class or anywhere close to that. I feel poor because I can't. There are times I want to put back things
it have
because I
poor and
can't
it have
believe
catch ass.
how much it have. What?
It have poor and it have catch ass.
Well, okay, yeah. Well, then I guess I belong to the poor class because I can't afford. So I don't know how the catch ass people is make out. But as it is right now, when you look at the top consumers of fast food, is usually people in the catch-ass and the poorer classes, as they will call them.
Yeah.
And it is a culture thing. It is a culture thing. Look at where the KFCs is be set up. Look at how many KFCs alone
Yeah.
it have in Port
In
Down,
Port
Port
of
of Spain.
Spain.
One
Yeah.
on Park Street, one on Charlotte and Duke Street, one on Independence Square.
Hospital
Yeah.
corner
It's
have
almost
one.
Hospital Corner. So that one on Hospital Corner serves everybody from Belmont, go down to the Harp, go down to Charlotte Street.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And again, what is the message that you're pushing in these communities? Because when you look at it, like I said, Muti and they're not eating the same food that they're selling to you, and it's not discriminating against you if you're eating fast food. Like I say, I will go and eat my box of chicken, not KFC. I can't eat that anymore. I would eat my chicken too, but when this becomes a staple, when this is part of your diet, you are basically encouraging poor eating
Yeah.
lifestyles amongst the people who can't afford to eat healthy, who can't afford to go and buy all of the watercresses and
And
the
watch
romaine
how
lettuce
he
and,
broke it
and,
down,
and
right?
dressing and
He's saying that you have $20 for every day, right? So it amount to 140. What if you don't have access to the money every day like that to put it aside as the 140 to go to the grocery to buy it?
True. For it to make
Right?
sense, right?
Right,
really paid
exactly.
hustle
So
workers.
yeah, but I mean, you're still getting paid fortnightly. You have rent to pay. You have probably your little bill, your phone card to pay, or whatever the case is, and the remainder of that if you have children, obviously it's going to be milk, Pampers, or snacks. You'll try to buy up little groceries or whatever for the children. So, how much really groceries you could really buy on a fortnightly salary? Rent alone for a family is what? Over 2,000.
Hmm.
7694590. We are taking your calls and answering your questions. We are and do appreciate your commentary. Moving on to the last topic of the day while we wait to see if we get any calls. do citizens see themselves as having a role in fixing Trinidad and Tobago? And this question came out of, this was my topical discussion for the day. Like I mentioned earlier in the program, I had a small back and forth, and I see the person actually just responded. I'll deal with that after the live. I would read it out for you actually. His comments on, and this pertained to the Delcy Rodriguez issue and the possibility of us getting sanctions and the whole debacle, actually, what our topic of our question of the day is based on. And his comment was, this is a friend of mine, by the way, well, a Facebook friend of mine, Average Trini, they go sanction me. Did you actually read the treaty? Average Trini. But Kamala say, me, no further questions, Your Honor. And I responded to him, that is not the conversation. What you are talking is distraction. The conversation is, why would our Minister of National Security and Prime Minister lie to the population? And he said, his responses, do we have problems? Yes. Are politicians to blame for a lot of these problems? Yes. Will I shoot the pilot while I'm still on the plane? No. And I saw two people liked his comment, about 34, maybe a couple more laughed at his overall post, which dealt with the sanctions. And it raised the question for me of, I see he being one of them. I see a lot of Trinbagonians, they come on Facebook and they complain. They go on those news stories and articles and they vent. And Trinidad is not a real place and we corrupt and blah, 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 blah. But his response alone showed me just how disconnected Trinidadians, Trinbagonians feel from the actual political process, from the actual process between why things fail and who is responsible for them failing. And I think a lot of times we abdicate ourselves of our responsibility as citizens. I mean, he basically said in his post that he knows that the government lies. He knows that they are the cause of the problems that we experience in Trinidad and Tobago. But because of the fact that they are the government, he's not going to basically call them out on it. And I don't think many of them understand, and it's a constant battle for me and the people that I deal with on Facebook to get them to understand that same thing that I was saying earlier, 1+1=2. If they are the problem, then if they are the cause of the problem, then in essence they are the problem. And we as citizens have to understand that by our nonchalance, by being so flippant on the issue, by making a joke out of everything, because he said, is this like, he made some silly joke above it, to which I had to respond, the analogy of you using the pilot analogy that you use and not wanting to shoot the pilot. It's very ironic when your pilot seems hell-bent on flying you into a wall. And that's basically what our governments are doing by allowing them to continue, by allowing them to get away with the lies, by not holding them accountable. We are basically allowing them to drive Trinidad and Tobago into the ground. Leman Hadassah, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, he could probably afford to migrate, but that general consensus plenty Trinidadians, and it stems from the lack of education. If you don't teach your citizens about pride from early and rights, and this is what your government is, this is what they're supposed to do, how you expect us to not have a damn after if you don't learn those things from small? These are things you're supposed to be teaching your children. Spending billions of dollars, those show that you have pride is what you focus on, all your people, the systems that working and all these different things. He's probably one of those people who, have no kind of empathy for anybody and don't actually face the reality that everybody else's face. He could probably jump in his car and pay for gas and drive around and stunt. And his reality would be different to everybody else. So maybe if he get a dose of reality the hard way, then you will see things change. Maybe he's shamed to talk about it on social media because he probably have a set of diehards on his page, or his mother's probably tell him, if you don't vote PNM, you're not living in this house. You don't know. That shit still going on.
And
Hmm.
Kadasa, you make your contribution.
Yeah. Um, there are not enough civic-minded citizens in the country. That and I think there are a lot of people who want to get involved, who want to have a voice, but they don't know exactly what to do because they fed up go on Facebook and rant, and it seems like if nothing is happening and nothing is changing, right? And people are not recognizing that the best thing that they can do is to direct all your anger and your frustration and to make sure that they vote for a government that will ensure that these things don't continue to happen. And he's talking about the analogy about he is on the plane and he don't want to shoot the pilot while he's on the plane. But the pilot have a parachute. This is what people not recognizing with this government. At
Oh, I
any
love that.
moment, they could jump out and leave us, and we are going to be in a monkey pants, right? So everybody needs to actually take their responsibility, like, take the bull by the horn. Sorry, go ahead.
I just want to take this call and you'll continue. Hello, good morning. You are live on Pep Talks in the morning.
Yes, good morning, and how are you all doing today?
I am fine to
Good
fair, Dasa
morning.
and Lima.
Morning.
I
We're
am
good.
happy to see three young ladies, very intelligent and very attractive. When I look at what I think about my grandchildren, so you
Aw.
understand that there's no disrespect that I'm using those three films. What I would like to see happen is that Mr. Alexander put out a challenge to the PNM and the UNC to get three young people like you all and have discussions of this nature. And we will see
Yes.
where we're going from there. Because the amount of lies and lies and lies and lies and lies, it wouldn't end. Because we recognize now that people who were waiting on the different social help, they made these
Nothing.
forms so difficult that people could hardly really and truly apply to get it.
Yeah.
And after they put it through those rigors, what we're hearing now is that they're going to change the system. So after 6 to 8 weeks, I'm waiting on a little $1,500 for whatever as a young person. And I am now hearing after 6 to 8 weeks, the system is now going to change again. So do they really and truly intend to assist people? Because what they did very early was made it so attractive that people were afraid to come out and talk. And now that we have passed 6 to 8 weeks, we still can't talk because the government is changing the system. So could you ask Mr. Alexander Smith, please, to get the PNM and the UNC to bring on three young people like you and put your and also a program like this to some form of public debate? I thank you and good day.
Thank you very much for that
Thank you, sir.
contribution, caller. 7694590 if you want to call in and have me say. I don't think, I would welcome it. I would love to have a debate with people from the PNM and the UNC. If you look at the composition of the plain talk shows that run every night from Monday to Friday from 8 p.m., and that show is not even an attacking show. It's supposed to be a solutions. But if you look at the composition of guests who come, you would see that in particular PNM members and ministers are very afraid of coming on to pep shows because you see we don't just dilly-dally around the issue. We actually drill down into the issue and we ask questions and we ask the real questions. We're not the powder puff media that you see skirting around the issue, and we will pin you down to answering based on what your portfolio is and what you are supposed to be responsible and accountable for. So if we could get a brave or three brave young woman from the PNM and or the UNC or both to come on a program like Plain Talk or Pep Talks in the morning, I welcome it wholeheartedly. I
It'll be
mean, I would
excellent.
have that would be my most favorite episode or of Pep Talks in the morning. Yeah. But before we took this call, Hadassah, you were going to say something with regards to the topic, the last
Yeah, well,
topic in
I
the
was
discussion.
saying that as citizens, we all have to take up our responsibility and take the bull by the horn because we do have a say. It might not seem like we do, but we do have a say. And the perfect example is when the government was going to award contracts to these private security firms for patrolling or whatnot, or to assist the TTPS with the COVID-19 lockdown, and the outcry that came from the public, yeah, because it was so blatant that it was favoritism, etc., that the government had no choice but to stand down. So we do have a voice and we do have to say, and we just have to be careful that we do not stay silent and just let the whole place catch on fire. And as we continue to call the government out until the elections call and we can get them out of there. That's what I was saying.
Yes.
Reading a reading a comment from Devli Jaikaran on the live, and this is in response to the pilot comment and the guy saying that he will not shoot the pilot if he's still on the plane. Devli said you should tell him if there's a more competent pilot on board, then we should damn well shoot them. And I like that
Exactly.
analogy because that is basically what the PP is and what we are saying. There is a solution. It's not enough to say I'm on the plane, so I wouldn't shoot the pilot. If I see the pilot basically flying us into a building, and I seen another pilot on the plane saying, "Yo, I can fly this plane, and I can steer us to safety." Of course, shoot the pilot who trying to kill you and or who, according to Hadassah, has a parachute. A lot of these people have lifelines. They have
Yeah.
lives outside of Trinidad and Tobago. When you look at their children and their parents, they're not living here. When you look at their
They
bank
don't even
accounts,
go
they're
to
not
school.
based in
Yeah.
and Tobago. They have offshore accounts and accounts in Panama and all over this country so that if
Hmm.
the day Trinidad and Tobago sink, you think they're sinking with us? If the day we crash into a
Hmm.
mountain, you think they're really
Yes.
crashing with us? Come on, then they very well feathering their nets. When you look at it, when they came into office back in 2015, when we had, I think it was 2018, they passed this law that allowed them to increase their pensions, and I will never forget. I will never
Yeah.
forget, and this is one of the reasons why I get upset with PNM diehard supporters. The ones who would look at facts, look at it square in the face and absolutely refuse to accept it for what it is. When they came out and said that we are raising the pensions of government ministers, but we're not raising it for the public at this time because we can't afford it. And I'm thinking, for men who make salaries
What?
of 20, 30, 40, $50,000 a month, on top of that, you're going to increase your own pensions and tell the public the majority a public of which a huge percentage of more than 20% is living well below the poverty line. You're going to look at them and tell them we can't afford to pay you more, or we can't afford to increase your social grants, or we can't afford to give you a higher
Hmm.
pension. That to me
Take you jamming, baby.
is a disrespect. It's disrespect.
Yeah.
And these are
Yeah.
the same people, great is the and till are dead, and those are the people
Yeah.
who
That's
prop
why
up
when
these
Pep gets
systems
in
to
office,
their
that's
lives.
one of the
And
first things we have to do. Cut that pension. Wean them ass off the treasury.
Hmm.
wean yourself off the government.
Yeah.
Wean yourself off
Exactly.
payers.
Yeah. They will ball.
Exactly. Hmm.
It also
And what is it
involves
that they're supposed to do entering the that position? And they're supposed to declare all what they have, and then when they leave in, declare what they have gotten. Where's the actual proof that that is happening? So you came in, you're driving a B14, and all of a sudden you're driving some Swedish aristocrat car that could fly and whatever. How you get our money to do that?
No, ma'am, but these are people who have worse than hiding. I did a local government elections campaign and I detailed down to every single dollar I spent on a pie to distribute as a thank you to my constituents and my total. You're trying to tell me I spent more money on my campaign. I didn't have flyers. I couldn't afford music trucks. I couldn't afford um half of the Zumba and all of the madness that the PNM was throwing out every day to the constituents. I couldn't afford the free
Yeah.
t-shirts and the jersey, $500 and the this and the that. And you're trying to tell me that they spend less. You're trying to tell me Nicole Young only spent $9,000 on her campaign. These people are
Probably
Wow.
of
worse
her own money.
in being able to hide and money and account for it in ways that do not make
Mhm.
them
Yeah.
appear to be spending less or earning less than they actually are. Whether they have to account for it or not, again, how do I believe and trust in people like that?
Well, Gary will have to get
Hmm.
his forensic auditing department up and running.
7694590. The last 9 or 8 minutes of this discussion. Please feel free to call in before we close off for the weekend. There was just one last thing I wanted to say on this particular issue, which is, had this situation happened to a PEP government, had Philip Alexander, as our Prime Minister or Minister of National Security, said, I don't know who came on a plane from a country where the president and vice president have sanctions against them. Do you think that the same people who are turning a blind eye now, do you think that the same PNM loyalists would be as nonchalant and don't
No,
care if it was on the other foot? And
Of course
no.
this is the
not.
point. This is why
If it
sometimes,
was
and I don't like to,
Nancy, they would not have sat down either. They would have nailed your tail to the cross already.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
But
and you know
again, we
what, the
always see
people I saw on that
the
post,
bias, the obvious bias in this political
Hmm.
arena. They would crucify anybody else other than PNM. PNM, Trinidad is PNM country, right? That's what it'll say. Because Eric Williams
I
give us
rebuke
blah, blah,
that in the
blah.
name of Jesus. I
And
rebuke that.
exactly, that's to tell you how
Amen.
foolish these people just
Amen.
think. They are foolish in their thinking. How could you say that? So we have been independent for 50 something years and we still having the same problems since 1962. No water,
Hmm.
poor roads. We get rid of everything that could have make money for Trinidad. We get everything we get rid of. Everything. So what we have now,
Hmm.
and you telling me great is the PNM? You had to be a real jackass.
Hmm.
Crumbs.
And
That's
a jackass
literally what we
have no
have now.
sense.
Crumbs. We wait for elections to come out to get a free jersey, to get a $500, to get a tea plate with a box of juice, and then we
To
say
fool
we're
you
doing.
with material nonsense that cannot go beyond the day you get
A
it.
day.
Where's the real
Yeah.
value in the thing? You need systems change, systems fixed. You want to go in the hospital, you want to walk out one time knowing your prognosis or whatever the case is. You don't want to come back and hang out, you're ready to dead.
Hello, good morning. You are live on Pep Talks in the morning.
Good morning, Felicia. How are you?
I am good. You're calling for Pep Talks, right?
Yes.
Good morning. Can I
I'm calling
identify
from the
you?
Digger Martin area.
Okay, hi, Diggy Martin.
Okay, I want to make a couple comments. This morning, I listened to another TV host talking about giving praise to the opposition leader and to ministers who are out giving out hampers to their constituency members. And I was very disturbed by the praise because the people voted in their representatives for their various communities. And what exactly is that person's job? Isn't it to assist the community members
in crisis and also to ensure that their community members are well looked after. So why is it are we giving praise to ministers
For them
and
just doing their
opposition
jobs,
leaders,
exactly.
giving our examples in this time of crisis? I don't understand that because to me, they're supposed to be helping their community members every single day, not
Indeed.
just in crisis situations, right? So the people need to understand, especially that gentleman who showed his bag of provision and his food card and saying great is the PNM. He needs to understand that is not the only time that um, his representative is supposed to be giving him assistance or trying to give him assistance. It's assistance for everybody, not just for certain people. So I
Indeed.
think people need to understand that the power lies within their vote. And they need to wake up and say, well, okay, what exactly are you going to do for my community? And that is what they need to look at.
Indeed. Thank you very much for that contribution, Miss Digo
Not a
Martin.
problem.
Have a good day.
Take care.
I agree with her completely. I mean, the fact that we are
Indeed.
politicizing the assistance of the COVID-19 relief assistance is absolute madness. It should not be a thank you to the PNM or a thank you to the UNC. It should be a thank you to the government of the day, and then it should not even be a thank you. That is their responsibility. Nowhere else in the world am I seeing people praising a political party on Facebook saying, "Oh God, he gave me a hamper. Oh God, he gave me extra $3,000 in my bank account." They're simply talking about their government that is working for them or not, and the fact that we're using this
Yes.
and people are using this to politicize and great is the, and I never want to finish that statement lest they take my comments and copy and paste it and put it somewhere with Felicia saying great is the, because I will never be caught dead saying that. But we here in Trinidad, particularly diehard supporters and particularly people who are hell bent on calling things apples when we know it's oranges, we tend to make the politicians work easy for them by allowing them to use us and allowing ourselves to be political tools in what should actually be a government providing social relief and social support to its citizens, whether you be black,
This
yellow,
is a
orange, or
perfect
red during a time
example.
of crisis.
This was a
Was that
perfect
Lamar?
example to see. This was a perfect example to see how petty PNM is. They didn't consider 99% of the population. They considered their few and their people. Why didn't they send out all of their MPs in every area? You come out and you say, listen, now is the time to separate this whole UNC PNM thing. I want all MPs out in their areas to assess the situation within each constituency, find out all who are in need or and all who are have emergencies, all these different things, and you wanted medical information as well as financial. So you will know all who need food, all who need medical, whatever the case is. And you try and curb people from coming out, but you make it into this fanfare where you have to go in the police station for a form to fill out, like you have to beg your own government for something that you're
Yeah.
entitled to. Why it is that? But when you wanted your pension raised, you didn't have to beg us to think. You take it upon yourself to increase your own damn pension. I supposed to say
Yeah,
yes or no
lay
to
that
you
out
for
on the law.
pension.
All
But
right,
you
Well
wanted
said,
ladies, we
Lamar.
are
community
out of time
to get a simple
completely for
grant.
the show. We are out of time completely for the show today. I want to give you a couple seconds to wrap up. Lima, as you were talking, you want to continue before we close?
I just want Trinidadians to understand that this government is supposed to take care of all of us, regardless of party you support or whoever. We are in a pandemic. We all are going through the same thing. So therefore, this whole, fill out this form, that form, everybody's supposed to be getting it regardless of whatever it is. You want to copy and paste everything from everywhere, but certain things you're doing that. Why don't copy what Justin Trudeau did for Canada, where he gave every citizen a certain amount of money, every single citizen, whether you voted for him or not. That is how you deal with people. Copy New Zealand. Jacinda Ardern just did a whole set of things for Hoppy P those people.
Hmm.
Well
Thank you.
said, Hadassah. I like your little thank you,
Um,
Hadassah.
just to build on what Lama is saying, oftentimes we use the excuse that, well, people don't know better, that people have never had the opportunity to travel out of the country. They don't know what a first world country looks like. And I say that that's not acceptable because the world is open now. Everything is on the internet, everything is on Facebook. There's information at the tip of your fingers. So if you don't know, it is your duty to find out how a democracy is supposed to work, how a real country is supposed to work. Find out and compare. And if your country is underperforming, if your country is not where it's supposed to be, then make a vow to yourself that for the next elections you are going to vote in a government that is going to get us to where we need to be, because we are so backwards. We are in the Stone Age, right? And it's time for us to start coming forward where we need to have databases with all the citizens' information. We need to have better healthcare, better education, food security. These are the issues that we are supposed to be, if you want to call it fight, these are the issues that we're supposed to fight over and be fighting for. All right, so do better, Trinidad and Tobago.
Very, very well said. And Hadassah and Lima, I really enjoyed the discussion this morning. Thank you very much for joining me. Before we close off the program this morning, we asked, do you believe Stuart Young should be fired over this issue with the Venezuelan delegation, the Venezuelan crisis? And 81% of you said yes, he should be fired. 19% of you said no. The answers are in the results. Thank you for joining us today, Trinidad and Tobago. It's Friday. We will be back on Monday, my birthday, for another episode of Pep Talk in the morning. So trust me, it's going to be a very, very special episode. I might have one a little tiara or something, seeing as I have to celebrate my birthday during COVID-19. I don't know, just being ridiculous.
Oh, wow.
Thank you for joining us. I really, really loved the discussion this morning. Remember, if you want to send any stories to us, I forgot the email address, but you can WhatsApp me on 769-4590. Send me a topics for discussion, send me your news stories, and we will have it covered on the program. I did run out of time to discuss a particular issue that a young lady raised with me yesterday. But I promise you, when we return on Monday, that will be part of the discussion. Or you can email me your stories as well at media@peptt.com. That's media@peptt.com. Please enjoy your weekend. And remember, during this period of social distancing, let's stay together by staying apart. Bye-bye.
Bye.